Hi, fourth graders. Welcome to the first day of historical fiction book clubs. This is Miss Skorka speaking, so let's get started. The first thing I want to mention to you is that any point during this lesson, you can pause this video to reread the slides or re-listen to something that I'm saying in case you need it repeated. You can do that whenever you want. Before I give you the teaching point, I just want to give you a little background information about historical fiction. Some of you might already know, but for those of you who don't, historical fiction is a story that is fake or fiction, not real, that takes place at a time period in the past. A lot of these times, the setting is very, very real, but the characters might be made up. Historical fiction basically means that the story you're reading could have been true and it was really realistic, but it didn't actually happen. So today I want to teach you that at the beginning of a historical fiction text or throughout reading a historical fiction text, readers pay attention to the mood and setting of a story. Now remember, mood also means the feeling of a story. These are some reminders down here. Authors aren't going to say, hey, reader, let me tell you the mood of the story. You're going to have to use clues, as you know, in order to pick that out. In order to do this, you look for signs of change throughout the story or signs of trouble, perhaps. And before I show you what I mean, I just want to remind you what mood is. As I said earlier, mood is a feeling. This might be a little review instead of actual teaching. Moods can be positive or negative. As you see here, some positive mood words are cheerful, happy, peaceful, etc. Some negative are suspenseful, sad, fearful. You can read the rest to yourselves. You can pause here whenever you need to refer to these words. These are not the only examples of mood words. There are tons and tons of others. These are just a few examples. If you need help with thinking of other ones, you can always Google mood words to get more. It's important to know that a mood can change throughout a story. For example, it might start off dark and scary or tense when a lot of the characters are arguing, but it might end cheerful and happy. Or it can stay the same type of mood throughout the story. It really depends on the plot. And to quickly review what setting is where and when a story takes place. I want you to pay close attention to what my mouse is circling here. The time and place of a story is very important. For example, if something is taking place during the American Revolution, life back then, as we have studied for so many weeks, was so different than today. There was no electronics, there was no Instagram, none of that. So if we know the setting and we know the time and place of a story, you can understand a lot about the characters. I want to show you what I mean about pointing out setting and mood. I'm going to read from Rose Blanche. You should have already read that by now or listened to the link that we posted, the read aloud. If you did not, please pause this video right now and go ahead and listen to that book. I'm going to read this. My name is Rose Blanche. I live in a small town in Germany with narrow streets, old fountains, and tall houses with pigeons on the roofs. One day the first truck arrived and many men left. They were dressed as soldiers. Winter was beginning. Now the trucks follow each other under the school windows. They are full of soldiers we don't know, but they wink at us. They drive tanks that make sparks on the cobblestones. Sparks are like little bits of fire when something rubs together. They are so noisy and smell like diesel oil. They hurt my ears and I have to hold my nose when they pass by. So now I want to think aloud and say to myself, so what does this place look like? She said it's a small town in Germany, so this is the setting with narrow streets. That means thin streets, not the big wide ones in New York City today. Old fountains, tall houses with pigeons. It sounds like it's been an old, quiet place and maybe even a peaceful one. But now I have to pay attention to the trouble that is brewing. like I said before, because I have the setting and now I need the mood. So as I pay attention to the trouble, I'm going to think, so Rose Blanche says it's starting to be a place full of trucks and soldiers. They're looking at us, and instead of like peaceful birds, it sounds like engines and smells like oil, these big, huge machines coming down the street, these soldiers looking at us. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe this is a war coming. There's soldiers in uniforms, and this doesn't seem peaceful. It seems kind of scary. And it definitely feels like a war is coming. Now I want you to try. Please pause the video here and read the section that I've typed down here. These are the illustrations that go with each one. What I want you to do is look for clues that the author gives you that tells you what the kind of place is, and look for more trouble that's brewing. Once you do that, jot it down on a piece of paper and you can continue the rest of this video. Now that you have hopefully paused the video, you might be thinking, the war is getting closer, and what are some of those signs? The soldiers won't slow down. A little boy jumped from the back of the truck and tried to run away. They grabbed the little boy by the collar. There's so many aggressive and maybe even violent action words going on. Things are getting pretty angry and heated, and the war is definitely coming closer. Things seem really scary. So at this slide, I want you to pause it and read it through. Here is where my mouse is circling. Here are some links. You're going to go on RazKids or Mayan for historical fiction books. I wrote here, if you need help understanding what it is, look up books to double check that your books are historical fiction. You're going to pick some of these books, although you don't have to. Here are just some suggestions. Then you will read for 30 minutes. Stop and jot about setting and mood, and then submit an assignment in your portfolio. You can find it on the next slide. Using race, answer the following question. Why is knowing and understanding the mood and setting of a historical fiction story so important? Here is an example. If you would like to pause the video here, I've given an example of how to respond. It should be at least 5 sentences, and here you have finally, readers of historical fiction study parts that clue them into feelings, facts, or setting. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hand in your response.